So the fourth remembrance, it asks us to reflect on the fact that we're going to lose everything we love and hold dear over the course of our lifetime. It's grounded in the truth of impermanence, that nothing lasts, and that we have to let go over and over again to experience losses and endings all the time, every day, every moment. So impermanence, it permeates our whole life. And if we look at it just in that way, it actually can feel a little bit heavy. But it's true, there are endings, one after another. But there also are beginnings, too. They're both true. With every ending, there's also a beginning. Things arise, they pass away. Other things arise and pass. It's a continuous flow. And there's not an ending that's not followed by an arising. Even in death, although that's a bit more of a mystery. So we know this, and we can see it. It's right here with our breath, right? When we practice every day, an inhale flowing into an exhale, and then an ending of that breath, and there's a small gap, and the beginning again of a new breath. So what I want to explore is what happens in the gap. How do we move from the ending to the beginning again? Of one breath to the next, or one loss to the beginning of something else? For me, even in our practice, this gap between the end and the next beginning, it's where I often space out. It doesn't seem there's anything to hold on to, and I lose myself. So I really want to explore, how do we hold ourselves through this transition from a loss to a new way of being? And on Monday, Jay gave a beautiful talk. And part of it kind of focused on the question of how we navigate between grief and gratitude. How do we come to a place where we can hold both and they can live side by side? Maybe it's grief for the death of a loved one. That's what we often think of. But it may also be loss of a job, a relationship, loss of your own vitality, health, loss of your identity. There are innumerable kinds of losses that we experience all the time. My husband was a career counselor, and he worked with a lot of people who had been fired during the layoffs during 2008. And he always said that a person needs a really clear ending before they can move toward a new beginning. And what he meant was that we need to fully experience our endings. As messy and painful as they might be, we have to try to ride the waves of emotional responses. And they can be complicated. Anger, shame, regret, sadness, depression, anxiety, worry. There's a whole myriad of feelings swirling within us. And we need to experience them without turning away and without trying to speed the process along. Loss teaches us slowly to hold them as best we can, to give ourselves time, and really lots of time, as much time as it takes, and space and kindness and patience. Loss teaches us all of this. I think of that Rilke quote that asks us to be patient with all that is unresolved in our hearts, so that gradually, almost without noticing it, we can live into something new. That's the process that's occurring in this gap. And inevitably, amongst all the feelings, there is a place of uncertainty that we face. We're not what we were before the loss, but we're also not quite sure what we're becoming either. Our experience feels like it's kind of painted gray. Nothing's clear, and it feels as if we're treading water, kind of staying just in one place. Untethered is a word I used a lot when considering this space within loss after my parents died. I was let loose of the deepest and longest bonds I had known. I was no longer a daughter, and I felt really at loose ends. No roots and no sense of being grounded in the world. So untethered. That was how I described my places of uncertainty. Who was I becoming now? When we're in it, swimming in the not knowing of who we are or how to move forward, it's really hard to feel that this is part of the process of moving through loss. We want to keep moving towards something else, but really, let's settle back. Be easy with ourselves. Let our hearts recover and find a way to be comfortable as much as possible with the uncertainty. Joan Halifax is a Zen Buddhist teacher. Some of you might have heard of her. She has spent much of her life working with people in their grief, and mostly it's after death. And she talks about this time after a loss and grief as being not just a time of transition, but a time of transformation. It transforms who we are. It's a time to keep our minds, but really more importantly, our hearts open to all that we're experiencing. Often we want to think our way out of the discomfort, and yet the experience is guiding us towards a deeper place in the heart and in the body. So Halifax speaks to the benefit of rituals or rites of passage as ways to express and honor our losses and help us assimilate the loss. And culturally, we have a few, especially around death itself. We have funerals. If we're Jewish, we might sit Shiva. We light candles at memorial vigils. But I think so many of us feel that for so many of our losses, we're left on our own with no kind of communal ritual to hold us. So it seems to me that this is a time to be creative, to really ask yourself, what might you need? To release your physical body, to express yourself from the deepest places inside, with and without words. In our practice, we often say, when the emotions are too big to sit with, find other ways to be present. It's okay to be unconventional. We listen deeply and offer ourselves what helps move this loss through us. And maybe it's a walk, maybe it's a dance, maybe it's art or playing music. But really, think broadly and give yourself permission to express yourself in this way. I've recently gotten kind of intrigued by these silent disco parties. which I've only just learned about. I don't know if other people know about them, where each person wears headphones and listens to music and dances from that place. So it appears silent if someone walks into the scene. It seems like a really great invitation to go inside and playfully explore what needs to be expressed without having a partner or any kind of external interaction, but still being around people. So I have dear friends who lost their son when he was 29, totally unexpectedly. And I know from the posts in the chat on Monday that some of you also have lost children. And my heart is touched by the unique and deep pain you must carry with that loss. And my friends have been really great teachers to me as they navigate through their loss and into a new beginning of what their lives are now. After 6 years, the grief is still really alive in them, and they talk about it openly. We share stories and tears. We raise a glass to their son, a Bud Light, each time we're together. And they created rituals for themselves, bringing together family and friends to celebrate their son's life. So each year on his birthday, they go to a special beach that he particularly loved, and they spend the day and they remember him. And they have a small photo memorial of him in a certain portion of their home. That first Christmas after his death, they didn't want to celebrate in the way they had before when he was with them. So we invited them to visit us here in Vermont. And they came that year, and they've come every year since. So a new tradition was created for all of us, and it's been wonderful. And it's really deepened our friendships in ways that we couldn't have imagined. So we're all really grateful for this, arising out of the loss. My friends don't want to put this loss behind them, but to move into a new beginning with their son, with them. And they've made a special effort to stay in touch with his friends. They now regularly celebrate jobs and marriages and births. Lots of joy found within the grief. And it's all there. Bittersweet because their son won't experience these things, but they get to share in the joy of their son's friends. I'm not sure they could have imagined that they would have found this new ground. And what they say often is that this is the best, second best life they could lead. It might feel near impossible sometimes to imagine the weight of grief and loss lifting from us. But stories and our own experience, they teach us that honoring our losses, letting them move through the deepest parts of ourselves, can transform us and open us to our life as it is now, flowing from ending to beginning to ending to beginning. So thank you all for your attention. And let's move towards our practice. As we do, as always, bringing attention to our bodies. However they are today, honoring that and offering to yourself the stretches, the shakes, the taps, whatever you feel is needed. And remembering the obvious places and also the less obvious places that maybe hold some tension. And giving yourself all the time you need. As if you have those headphones on and are listening to your body, not concerned what anybody around you is doing. And only as that feels complete for you, coming into a posture that's comfortable, flexible, alert, and just letting yourself settle in. That sense of resting as you begin to let go. Knowing that you're just going to spend these moments noticing how it is for you today. Nothing to do, nothing to accomplish. And feeling the weight of yourself sitting in this place. Held by your seat. Noticing the gentle rising and falling of breath. Letting the breath find its own rhythm. Something in us knows just what to do. And bringing the mind to rest on breath or body or sounds. Where it rests, that choice doesn't really matter. It's just in finding an anchor that the mind can return to time and again as it lets go of its own busyness. And perhaps, if you're interested, bringing just a little bit of extra attention to either the beginnings or the endings of your breath. If you generally look towards endings, become a little more curious about beginnings. Or become interested in the transition. that small gap, that space between the end of one breath and the beginning of the next. No straining, no effort, just a light curiosity. keeping it simple and easy and light. Just what's right here now. in these last few minutes of our practice, just inviting yourself to relax even a little bit more and soften a bit more. Letting your experience flow right through you. Thank you all for being here. Give me 1 second. Okay, and you should be